Welcome to the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. I'm Larry Wagner, and I've spent 30 years working with seniors where I was a certified senior advisor and the last 15 years in the home buying industry as a certified senior transition specialist, where I specialize in dealing with seniors going through a transition in their lives. This podcast is for seniors, those with seniors they love, and people who work in the senior community. In each episode, we bring on a guest who works to improve the lives of seniors. This podcast is your key to unlocking senior resources. Today I'm sitting here with Joel Bragen from Caring Transitions. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Larry. Nice to be here.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. I'm glad you came. We met each other not long ago and said you're perfect for the podcast, and I'm glad you're here. So, question for you. Caring Transitions, you're dealing with senior citizens.
Yep.
I deal with senior citizens. We all have our own stories, how we got here. How did you get to Caring Transitions?
So I've been a project manager most of my career in one aspect or another. I've been in several different businesses, but what really drew me to this was my brother and I moved my mom a few years ago. She was living alone in a condominium in Boston where she'd been for 33 years. She was in her mid-80s, doing pretty well. She's very independent, very long time. Would walk to places that she'd need to go to, very close to the museum school and shopping. Very independent, in control of her life. But the pandemic was really hard on her, and everything that she used to go to was shut down. The museums were closed. The Harvard lectures she went to were online. Symphony was online. And the isolation was really hard on her. And it became apparent just within a few months that she needed to move from that place. I was the closest relative she had, 4 hours away. My brother lived on the West Coast.
Oh, wow.
So, we began to contemplate what was going to be needed to orchestrate that move. He found a great assisted living facility where he is in the Bay Area, and the two of us both had jobs at the time that afforded us the flexibility to work remotely. So we took turns spending time with her in Boston. I spent 3 weeks up there. But just the amount of planning and coordination and the different providers of services that were needed to move her life or a portion of her life out to California was overwhelming. We had the luxury to be able to spend that time with her on site to help coordinate, but most people don't have that. We found a mover. We found several charitable organizations to donate things to. We talked about possibly estate sale. We tried selling some things, and at the end of the day, it was a long, arduous effort on both our parts and my mom's as well to get her to move and then clean out the apartment and get the apartment ready for market. I was laid off from my job shortly after that and was approached by a franchising consultant, and Caring Transitions, based on our conversation, was one of the first opportunities brought to my attention, and it was a no-brainer.
It was very relevant to your life.
Very relevant. Yeah. There's a lot of project management in this business, and I already knew the business. I already understood exactly what needed to happen, and
your own client.
Yeah, basically, I was acutely aware of the the chaos and the emotion that is tied to this situation where an elderly person is basically being thrust out of their home and contemplating moving to a new place and downsizing, losing the majority of the things that have brought them comfort, that have embodied the meaning of home for them, and leaving those things behind. So, yeah, that's how I got here.
It's a fact. With Leave the Key home buyers, we buy homes about 80% from seniors who are going through what your mom went through.
Yeah.
It may not be as traumatic or whatever. It may not involve COVID. We've been doing it for 16 years, but it can mean that they're selling their house that's not really in great condition because they're 80-something years old and they haven't renovated, since the 70s kind of thing.
Right.
And they don't want to go, but they know they have to go. And that oftentimes they're dealing with somebody just like you who's finding the right place for them, you and their family.
Right.
And it takes a lot of people to get them to get up and go sometimes. How willing was your mother willing? I sang the word willing twice. How reluctant was she to go? Well, I'll rephrase it.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things here. My mom, when was aware of her aging,
yeah,
and we had conversations years before. She started planning this about 4 years prior. We had conversations about what her next steps were, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to have these conversations with your parents, with your aging parents, when they recognize their mortality and realize that at some point they're not going to be able to live alone. But as she was actually experiencing the effects of the isolation and her memory was starting to fail, it became more difficult for her to consider what was going to be happening. And right up until the end, it was more and more difficult. Probably about 96% of the time, these transitions occur on a crisis basis.
Yeah.
Something has happened. Either there's been a downturn in health, or there's been the loss of a loved one, loss of a spouse, and all of a sudden something has to be done soon, on a not necessarily an emergency basis, but very quickly. And so we're accustomed to that. We understand, and we accommodate.
Being in my 60s and I lost my parents just a few years ago, and I had my in-laws around. We go through the same processes with them. I got my parents moved to independent living, and the one comment I make to people is go when you're still clear-headed if you're moving to a facility, because you can make friends.
If you can, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Too many people go when it's in crisis mode. Like you said, 96% of your clients go when it's crisis mode, which is unfortunate because they're missing an opportunity. And but we can talk to a blue in the face. It's probably not going to change anything.
Yeah.
If they don't want to go, they don't want to go. It took me a year to convince my parents to get literally a year to go look at a place. And then
That's not bad.
That's not bad. Well, having my brother and sister not on board with me for 6 months of that year did not help. But putting that aside, and it was the best thing they ever did. The best, of course, other than having me. But but putting that aside, but yes, we tend to work in crisis mode. I'm guilty myself of, and so.
Well, it's a human nature thing. People don't like to, people become accustomed to their way of living. Their home is their community, and that's a really difficult thing to think about turning your back on and moving away from.
You're admitting aging.
You're admitting aging. You're admitting loss of control, which is incredibly hard for people to do.
Yes.
But it does happen, and carrying transitions really attempts to rise to that situation, to that need, because I'd say probably most of us owners, franchisees, have been in that situation, either the situation that I was in personally, or they know someone
right
very close to them.
I'm sure your story is not unique to the franchise owners, because it seems like a no-brainer. You see what everyone's going, you see what you went through, and you want to fix it for other people.
Yeah,
and it's an opportunity for you to have a business, an opportunity for you to help people. It's a win-win.
Yeah. So what we do is we address a multitude of needs during this period of time, and the focal point is really usually when there's a move involved, when there's an elderly person who can no longer remain in the place that they've lived, 4-bedroom homes in the suburbs, 2-bedroom apartment in the city, wherever. They are not able to maintain it. They're not able to, they're losing the ability to manage their life. And so that is usually the trigger situation for us. But so what we do is we help in any capacity that we can in that situation. So we offer packing and moving services. We offer space planning so that this person can identify items, pieces of furniture that they would like to bring with them, and we can help them make a determination of what's going to fit in their new place. Right. We'll pack up their clothing, personal effects, artwork, decor items, whatever will fit in the new place that they want to bring with them. And these are typically touch points,
right? Yes.
That things that have sentimental value, meaning to them. We'll coordinate the move. We'll hire a mover, and on the tail end of the move, we'll unpack. We'll put the clothing away. We'll put the dishes and silverware away. We'll make the bed, hang the pictures the way they were in their bedroom at home. Anything and everything that we can do to make that first day and that first night one that's in familiar surroundings.
That's what I was going to wait and say familiar. That's exactly the word I was going to use.
Yeah.
Going through these transitions it's very difficult, and you respect that, and you have to respect that to be in the business and be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rough, especially going from a house to if you go into a facility.
Absolutely.
Going from an apartment to another apartment style living, it's still a move. Going from a house, it's even a bigger transition.
Sure.
We're Long Islanders. Most everyone lives in houses here.
Right.
So
right.
I've been through with my folks. I said it took a year, but they did it and they loved it.
Yeah.
So what you do is a godsend, because I'm the one who did it, like you said, what you did with your mother.
And then, Larry, the back end of what we do is after the move has occurred, there's still a house filled with items that they were not able to bring along with them. Some of the contents of that house is going to go to family members, friends, but there's still a lot of things that need to be dispositioned, gotten rid of. The objective being usually the house needs to be put on the market and sold. So our ultimate goal is to have that house clean and broom swept and ready for listing. And what that entails is figuring out what to do with all the stuff in there. So after the move, we're looking at possibly estate sales. We also do online auctions, and there are different reasons for doing either an auction or an estate sale. There are pros and cons to each. Sometimes we can do a hybrid, one and then the other, or both together. And we have an eye toward keeping things out of the landfill. No one wants to see the items that they've curated over a lifetime end up in the landfill. So we do what we can to donate to charitable organizations. We give things away if it's the best way to keep them out of the landfill, even if they have no value. And we'll do a final clean out of anything that is of no value, that is dated or broken or torn. Those things will end up in the trash, and we'll take care of those as well.
As a home buyer, we do the same thing. When people leave stuff behind, when we get the house, they've already taken their stuff of value.
Sure, yeah.
A value to them. Mm-hmm. And then we do is we go through the house and we donate everything we can. The same thing. Being an ex-woodworker by trade, I'm conscious of the environment and trees and so on. I don't want to waste anything. I don't waste it in my life. I don't want to waste it in anybody's life. So I appreciate your sentiment about not filling the landfills unnecessarily. And there are people who need. And we have stuff with
absolutely
out.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. And we do it all the time. I don't say we as in you and I, but we as a society
right.
do it all the time. So, question: when you mentioned about sentimental value.
Mhm.
When I closed up my parents' house finally, about 5 years after my father passed, because I had family members living in the house. So when he finally left, and we went to get rid of the things in the house, my parents were world travelers and collected expensive things from around the world. They had a little wall-hanging Turkish rug that they paid $4,000 for.
And I know exactly how much they paid for that.
You're right?
And when
And
and
they
where.
knew exactly and when, and I'd beg them, and I hope people listening to this podcast will take this seriously. Label the stuff you have, or make a notebook of the things you have if you have things that you believe are collectible, and tell me if this makes sense to you. Put a story behind it, because when you put a story behind it, it may have meaning to your children. Me, the Turkish rug on the wall had no meaning to me.
Right.
It had meaning to my daughter because she knew Grandma said, don't touch that when you walk down the stairs. So she was never allowed to touch that rug. And after we finally get ready to close up the house, my daughter touched the rug, 5 years after my mother. She didn't even touch it for the first time after my mother left. Just, it's not even that soft. So anyway, but we sold it after months and months and months. There were friends said he'd sell it online for us for $150.
Okay.
For $150, and it took months and months and months. I said, you keep half. But anyway, things don't have the value that people think. My mother had thousands of dollars. It was a wonderful crystal chandelier she inherited from my father inherited from his uncle. And she always tell me it's worth $40,000. It's my mother telling me this.
Yep.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Yep.
We also sold that after months and months and months, the same person, I think also for $150. I was told if we lived in Texas or in Louisiana, it would have sold. But nobody wants them in New York.
So
you relate to these stories? I see your head nod.
That is a typical refrain.
Yeah.
There are different markets around the country, and
that's where the online auction may come in.
Well,
no,
that's a very good point. Yes, I was getting to that.
Yeah.
So, the New York metropolitan area is unique. There are there's a lot of affluence here, and there are. I'm just going to say there are, aside from the coastal cities,
right.
There are different sensibilities about what things are worth. Maybe it has to do with the availability. Maybe it has to do with the affluence in this area, that when people are looking for something expensive in the New York metropolitan area, and money is not a large deciding point, these people are not going to buy things at a bargain at an estate sale.
Right.
They're not going to deal with the hassle of going someplace to an estate sale, negotiating a price, and then figuring out how to get a $25,000 bedroom set or dining set back to their house.
Right.
They're going to go to a storefront. They're going to go to an antiques dealer or a high-end furniture place and buy new,
right,
if money is no object. So that's one of the aspects of this area, this region, that serve to depress the values in estate sales.
We have a house we just purchased, and the owner said he bought the chandelier from the previous owner.
Mm-hmm.
Owner had paid $80,000. Our seller had paid $60,000 for the chandelier. It's going to go with the house at no charge.
Right.
We're not even taking it off the sealer.
Yeah.
We know the buyer for this. It doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a shame. We don't appreciate those.
Well, that's another aspect. Tastes have evolved and changed over the last 10, 20 years or so. And the people who are buying houses now and furnishing them have different tastes. They don't really care about fur coats. They don't really care about Waterford.
Right.
They don't care necessarily about the brand names that the older generations cared about.
Hummels and Yadros. Thorn in my side.
Yeah.
And mother didn't have Hummels, but she had Yadros.
Okay.
And they didn't sell. They don't sell. We didn't even try.
Yeah.
Call people in, they say we don't take them anymore.
So this is you brought up a point about the auctions.
Yeah.
So the benefit of one of the benefits of an online auction, and Caring Transitions we have our own auction platform. We don't use eBay. We don't use any of the other available auction platforms out there. Is that you cast a much wider net.
Absolutely.
So now you're looking not at just the New York metropolitan area or a half hour to 45-minute drive time, because we can ship things anywhere.
Right.
So auctions are more conducive to smaller things that can be shipped, because shipping can get expensive when you have something heavy or delicate.
Not the $25,000 bedroom set.
No, probably not. Yeah. Probably not. But items that do get posted on the auction will command a better price. You've got hundreds of thousands of people looking at them instead of just maybe 10 or 20,000 in the local area. And also to your point of getting a history or background on an item, that is very important when we do an auction. The more information we have about the items that we're auctioning, the better off. People love a story. They like to know what the background is. If there's a purchase receipt, that's helpful. But any provenance that can be associated with that Turkish rug on the wall, or that African mask, right, or the Pokemon cards or the coin collections, those are going to help to boost the value. Not only because there's a story behind it, but because our buyers on ctbids.com, which is our platform, are sophisticated and they know what they're looking for. And the more verbiage and keywords and tags we can associate with a particular auction item, the more it's going to get picked up on and the higher it's going to be bid up.
And what's the auction site was?
ctbids.com.
ctbids.com. I know I've been on it because I get emails for it, but I've never actually had to type it in. So that makes sense. Caring Transition Bids, that works. Yeah. Hi, I'm Larry.
And I'm Ben. We're the father and son team of Leave the Key Home Buyers, and we want to buy your house.
We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you were going through.
So if you're considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out and see how we can help.
Do you have an outdated home?
No need to update anything.
Have a home that needs repairs?
Don't bother with repairs.
Don't want to take everything with you?
Leave whatever you want behind.
Dreading the headaches that come with agents?
Sell your home without paying a commission.
Dreading prying neighbors, attending open houses and passing judgment on your home?
No need for public showings.
When you sell to us, you'll have all the certainty of closing on your timeline, not someone else's, and there's absolutely no pressure.
Visit leavethekey.com or call us today for a no-obligation offer at 631-388-7771 if you want to sell your home today.
So yeah, it's very interesting. Also, if you do a tag sale, you talk about, 10, 20,000 people looking at something, you're talking about 10 or 20 people looking at something versus a couple hundred.
So when we do a tag sale or an estate sale, and there are different levels and qualities of estate sales. If it's higher end, high-end decor items, we're going to want to individually price certain items here. But usually our objective is not to maximize the price that we get, right, but to empty out the house. Right. Our objective, generally speaking, is to get people to pay for items, to remove items from the house so that our clients don't have to pay to have them removed.
Right. That's interesting.
So more often than not, there's a lot of usable items that are in pretty good shape, tools, decor, Christmas decor, holiday decor, paintings, prints, hanging wall art, linens, some clothing.
I wouldn't have thought of that one.
That don't have a lot of value necessarily, but are still usable and in good condition. And we negotiate in order to empty things out, in order to get rid of things.
Is there an average? If I said, what's an average net to the homeowner on a tag sale? Is that a?
There's really not, Larry. It's all over the board.
I'm not surprised. That's why I acted the way I did.
Yeah. It depends on a lot of factors. But yeah. So we draw a line. If there's a closing date that is looming,
Right.
we're going to want to work within that constraint,
Right.
and focus on emptying the house more quickly than normal. There are occasions where we will donate more than we ordinarily might be inclined to do. But yeah, the overall objective is to keep things out of the landfill, get things into the hands of people who are going to use them,
Right.
because no one of our clients ever wants to consider that the things that they have had for years in the house are going to end up on the trash heap.
Yeah.
So we try to respect that and accommodate that.
Another comment I'll make, and I think you'll second it, but you may want to elaborate, is don't feel the need or the desire to burden your children with your stuff. Your kids don't want your stuff. I'm a senior citizen kid who did not want my parents' stuff.
Yeah.
And nor did my brother or sister. And I assume that's typical.
Again, it's all across the board, because, if you grew up in the house that is now being emptied and sold, there are some things that are going to have meaning for you, but we are always talking to our clients and the adult children of our clients. If they want to take stuff away, that's great, because anything they take away is not going to have to be paid, or they're not going to have to pay to have removed. So yeah, but people have to think about, where is this going to live in my house? If I'm taking this away, what am I going to do with it? Yeah.
My parents had this beautiful desk when they got it. I was a cabinet maker for years, so I appreciate something of good quality. And they had a beautiful desk with, I remember, a leather faux tortoiseshell top on it. First time I'd ever seen that. And so they passed, and I told my wife, I'm taking the desk. She goes, what are you going to do with it? I said, I don't know. So we had an empty area in our house. I stuck it there, and it stayed there for a few years till we needed that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sold it for a little bit of money, and I never should have taken it to begin with. But it meant something to me, but it was too big. It wasn't a vase to put on a shelf. It was a piece of furniture I needed a place for, which I just didn't have the place for it. So it's gone, and you know what? I don't really miss it. It was nice to know I could have had it, but anyway, putting that aside, what I do tell people is take pictures.
Take a picture.
That's it. Take a picture and then have a little, if you want, make an album in your phone. So you can always look back at your stuff and remember it. And my parents used to they traveled to over 120 countries. They were rural travelers. And they had tons of slides. That was a big deal. That thousands and thousands of slides. What do you do with them? Well, they're in the trash. And they don't break down so easily. So they're really in a landfill for a very long time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
did you have them digitized? Because
I did not have them. It was their travels. I wasn't on vacation with them. It was their travel. If it was my vacation with them, maybe I would have wanted to digitize them.
Right.
But no, my sister had gone through a lot of them and made an album on one of the online print albums, and she gave us, 50 pictures out of thousands of pictures. Took months to go through, and that's what she had done. So that was a nice way to take, and all the carousels. You know how big those are? Dozens of,
and you can't look at them unless you have the old, the old time.
We have one of those old projectors, which I haven't pulled out of my closet in 30 years.
It's a project.
It's a project.
Yeah.
So then there's the stack loader for the other ones, and this is history. Our kids don't understand. They have a slide projector. You on your phone, you project it to your television or whatever. And so, which is really so much better. But putting that aside, I'm a firm believer is don't expect your kids to want things just because you want them to have them. Yeah. And those things have sentimental value to you. Some of those things may have sentimental value to you.
Well, I want to sort of elaborate on that whole concept. of
this one
where the value is.
People every day like this.
Yeah. If there's one point I can really drive home to clients or prospective clients, it's that the only people who care about your stuff, no matter how much you paid for it or how valuable it is or where you got it, the only people it's really going to have value to is yourself and your immediate family. I'll tell you one story. I visited a prospective client in my territory in Great Neck, and she had a few matching sets, pieces of furniture in the basement. Beautiful burlwood, antique burlwood veneer dressers, marble tops, but they weren't in great shape. They'd been in the basement for a long time and suffered through the heat and cool and the humidity down there, and the veneer was becoming delaminated and had mildew on it. And she looked at me. She said, we my parents loved these. After they passed, we got some use out of them, but then replaced them. They've been down in the basement for 15, 20 years. There's got to be someone who can see the original beauty in these and restore them to their, to the quality and beauty that they originally had. And I made some calls on her behalf, and I found a furniture restorer in New Jersey and had a conversation with him. Sent him some photographs and asked, what he thought the cost would be for restoration and whether there was a market for these. And he gave me a price. He said, it would be about $3,500 to restore these, and no, I don't have a market. He said, you need to realize that the only people that these really have any meaning for are the people who own them,
right,
and maybe their immediate family. And if they love them so much, they want to keep them, I'd be happy to do the work, but you're never going to see that money for them.
Right.
No one is going to be interested in paying what they originally were, or even what the restored value is going to be.
Very sad story to hear all the time. I'll give a similar story, which is frightening to me. Like you were a Long Island company, I say the island of Long, that's Suffolk, Brooklyn, and Queens. And we have a house in Whitestone. There's a baby grand Steinway piano. So baby grand Steinway piano, they're leaving it behind, we'll sell it, has value. Nobody wants it. One restorer is willing to take it for free,
right?
Which she's getting it because I don't want to throw it out. But she says, everyone who restores Steinways said, we have a warehouse full of restored Steinways ready to sell.
Right.
I don't need another one.
Right.
And there's a piano store by us in Melville or Huntington. I don't understand, Huntington Station, I don't understand how piano stores are even in business today.
I don't.
Who buys pianos? But it's enough for this big store to sell pianos. But I thought a Steinway had to have value.
Yeah.
He said, well, his is worth about $25,000 when it's done, but it'll cost me about $15,000 to restore it.
Yeah. So
he goes, so I'll make $10,000, not including my overhead and trying to sell it, and if there's a broker involved, and so there's nothing in it for me as now the proud owner of this Steinway.
Yeah.
So not in the trash it goes, but to the truck it goes at no charge, I'm not paying to get rid of it, but I'm not getting paid to dispose of it.
Sure.
And that was shocked me. And that was a Steinway piano, not a piece of burl furniture in the basement.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. Yes, it just the two classic stories. And I used to build furniture with burl on it. I never liked it then. I don't like it now. So, but to each his own. To each his own. Yeah. I have no Carpathian elm burl. I know, but that's another story. We don't have to talk about furniture design. Yeah. But but yes, the value, and you say it's in the owner and their family, and I'm finding with my personal experience, it's in the owner, not the family. We literally kept almost nothing from my parents' house, from all their travels.
I'm impressed. That's hard to do. I have seen people, adult children, travel from out of the country, out of state to pour through their parents' stuff and load up their suitcases, load up their car with items.
Right. And the problem is they're probably going to take them back to the house and leave them in the boxes, never to be seen again. But kids have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, so people like you help get rid of the stuff out of the family to people who really do want it, not take it as an obligation.
Exactly.
And I think that's what these kids are doing. They're taking it as an obligation. I should want this. I think that's it. I should want.
There's a lot of emotion, a lot of psychology going into it, but sure, that's definitely part of it.
Right. So I did that. You're selling it. It's going to someone who truly wants it because there's no history.
Who's going to use it?
Who's going to use it?
Yeah.
And
that's the best disposition possible is to put it in the hands of someone who's going to, even if it's giving it away.
Correct.
Yeah.
We had someone come through. We were going to do a text at my parents' house, and we chose not to do it because, long story, not important for here, but I ended up calling a few people in who specialize in like mid-century modern stuff and
sure,
and other antique and silver.
I want those names. By the way,
now, happy to share them with you. I love referring my sources, and that's just about unlocking senior resources. I mean, I'm happy to share them with you as well. And once they picked out what they wanted, I said, okay, now you can have anything else, and they said, we'll pay you X dollars, which was nominal. I said, go through the house again, take anything else you want for free. And they said, why are you doing that? I said, I'd rather you make money on it and get it to someone. It may not be worth you buying it and taking the risk on it.
Right.
But you'll get it to someone, hopefully, who will want it.
Right.
And so if you make a few dollars on it or more money, it's not worth spending $20 on it to sell it for 30, but it may be worth spending nothing on to sell it for 20.
You see, that does make a lot of sense to me. That can be a difficult sell to someone who actually remembers paying what they paid for it 15, 20, 40 years ago. Yeah.
Absolutely. But me, it was my parents, and they were gone.
Well, there you go.
So I don't remember what they paid in 1952 because I was born in 1958. So I'd have a really good memory for that. But there's some really...
And unless your mom told you and you forgot.
No, she told me I forgot. Which
she probably did.
So very probable. But there's some really cool 1950 stuff, but I don't need it. My cabinets are filled with other stuff. My own craft.
Oh, and my garage and basement is filled with stuff.
Yes.
I've got 2 sets of my grandmother's fine china in my basement that I have no idea what I'm going to do with.
Me too. I have the Rosenthal. My mother she made me take it, stay in my cabinet. I'm now leaving for my daughter.
You even know the name brand. That's impressive.
Yeah. So the question is, so we talk about the tech sales and the and so on, and how you dispose of people's stuff in the best possible way.
We call it disposition.
Disposition sounds better than dispose. It's the same word, but it sounds better. So with that in mind, that's a big part of what you do, but surely not the biggest part of what you do. It's the person themselves.
Moves are, there's about a 50-50 split between moves and sales and cleanouts, liquidations and cleanouts. And there's about a 50-50 split between working with clients who are the heirs or executors versus working with an elderly person.
Yes.
So, half the time we're looking at helping someone move and then doing the liquidation and cleanout. And half the time we're dealing with either an executor or adult children of someone who has passed away and just helping them with getting the house ready for sale.
So it's interesting. So carrying transitions, I'm thinking if you're dealing with the seniors, but you're dealing with, I'll call post-senior.
Right.
If you will.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I learned something new. Well, thank you for that. And I've spoken to other people in your industry, but I never really related to that. I always think of dealing with the homeowner, dealing with the person who's transitioning.
Right.
But I'll call this post-transition, if you will. They're transitioning the house at this point, really, not the person. Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's about half and half. So for those who don't know, we're a Long Island-based company ourselves, and we interview people who deal with seniors who are on Long Island, deal with, again, NASA stuff at Brooklyn, Queens for the most part, some Little Westchester. But your area, what area do you actually cover? You mentioned Great Neck.
Sure. So I did mention that Carry Transitions is a franchise. It's the nation's largest provider of senior relocation services.
Wow.
There are over 300 locations across the U.S. There are 5 of us on Long Island.
Okay.
We have Port Jeff area, Dix Hills, large swath of the North Shore, Gold Coast, Garden City and me in Great Neck and surrounding. I'm the westernmost owner on Long Island, so I get a lot of calls from Manhattan, Queens, and the boroughs
that's
as well.
interesting.
Yeah.
So because they have no territories there.
Right. No owners there yet.
Is that open to other people, or just you?
It's open to others. Yeah.
You're the
And
closest, so you get the natural call.
right.
Yeah.
Right. But our clients never have to worry about who to call. They can either call the main number on the Caring Transitions website, but if they happen to Google Great Neck and my website comes up, but they're working with a parent on the South Shore or something, we collaborate and cooperate with each other, and we'll make sure they don't have to remember, I need to call Joel or I need to call Rachel. We'll make sure that the call gets to the right place and they get taken care of.
That's very nice.
Yep.
So it's just, as I said, you work collaboratively. You don't step on each other's toes. You have your territory and you respect that.
No, it's the business is benevolent. It's a great company to work with and to work for, and there's never, we don't, we collaborate and cooperate more than other like businesses, I think.
Well, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing in a people business, so
We're in a people business.
you need people like people. And there's a song about that. So if you got to, you asked me a question when we were speaking before recording, and that's some of my competitors are my clients, and
sure,
you want to work together. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
So, question: is there anything else you want to mention about what you do, or?
You asked me about differentiation. What makes us different from other like providers? Really, we're more of a one-stop shop. There are other companies out there that specialize in senior relocations. There are a lot of estate sale companies out there. There's plenty of auction companies, auction platforms out there. But we take pride in offering a menu of services that encompasses all these things. So one-stop shop is what we are to our clients. And if there if there are services that our clients are in need of that we don't provide, we've got people like you, Larry, and we are a tight-knit community of people in the senior services arena. So we can always make referrals to areas of expertise that we don't specialize in.
That's why I met Joel through GPNY, the Gerontology Professionals of New York. And I joined the group because most of the clients we deal with, homes we buy, are from senior citizens who are transitioning, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And and I love referring people from the group, and I love when the people, of course, refer us as well. It's perfect because everyone's a winner. Our client, your client's a winner, and we're winners in each other's referral. So what could be better? And I do find it's people who deal with seniors tend to have a nicer disposition, the less cutthroat and so on. You have clients who really need your assistance.
Yeah.
So you tend to treat them a little bit more delicately than I think if you just a car salesman who sells cars to every demographic, age group, let's say. I think it's more transactional oriented. I don't think we're a transactional business. I know we're not. I don't think you are either.
Right.
Especially the way you got into the business.
Yeah.
Your motivation for getting in was pure and through experience, and you want to see other people not go through the heartache, the difficulty you went through. So, well, that's great. That's really wonderful. If there's one takeaway, what would the takeaway be here? Is it?
Well, if there's one thing that I would like my prospective audience and market to understand, it's that there is help out there. I was not aware of Caring Transitions when my brother and I were moving my mom to California. I wish I had known, because it would have taken a lot off our plate. You don't have to do it alone. There's a lot of help in a lot of different capacities, and Google is your friend.
Yep.
But if you, are struggling as a, adult child of an elderly person, trying to figure out what resources are out there. There is help available in a lot of different capacities. Not only the types of things that Caring Transitions does, but we'll help you find the support that you need.
Right. That's awesome. That's what I said before. It's all about having people who have resources.
Yeah.
Even if they're not they're a resource because of who they know, and that's critical. Joe, let me share with people how to get in contact with you.
Sure.
Can I give them your cell?
Please. Yep.
There you go. So again, Joel Bragen, and his number is 914-260-1871, and his email, no surprise, jbragen, Bragen, @caringtransitions.com. Joel, it was a pleasure having you today.
Great to be here.
Hope you enjoyed your time here.
Very much so, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you are going through. So if you are considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out to see how we can help. When working with us, you can sell your home in its current condition, there is no need to remove unwanted items, and you control when the house is sold, along with so many other advantages. Visit leavethekey.com or call us at 631-388-7771 to learn more about our senior home buying process.